Dress right. Press. Ready. Front. Cover. Ready. Front. Cover. Report. Operations Department, all present or accounted for, sir. Very well. Department, all present or accounted for. Very well. MIUWU 111. Parade. Rest.
On deck, 4 side boys. Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy, arriving. Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111, arriving. Inshore Undersea Warfare Group 1, arriving. Parade the colors. Post the colors. Lady. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, as we bow our heads to thee on this day, and as we witness the passage of command at Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare 111, we ask thee, Heavenly Father, for thy eternal guidance for Commander Michael Erickson, that he may have the strength, courage, and foresight to command during this most difficult of times in our world. Heavenly Father, as we say farewell to Commander Keogh, we ask thee for thy blessing upon him, that he may continue to have the success and fulfillment in his new assignment as commanding officer of COMNAV 4 Japan. We ask thee, Heavenly Father, to bless the men and women who unselfishly serve this great country, and to their loved ones, who are the hidden strength of these men and women. We humbly and prayerfully ask for these blessings in thy name. Amen.
Commander Select Erickson, I welcome you to our change of command ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now hear a reading by Catherine Keel and Rhodey Lagason.
Symbolic of what we stand for. We don't stand for what's true. With that in mind, this is the future up here on the podium. So we'd like to share that with
you. The sailor's life is bold and free. Her home is on the rolling sea. And never heart more true or brave than hers who launches on the wave. How far she speeds in distant climes to roam. With jocund song she writes a sparkling home. The tide is flowing with the gale. Keep home, my lads, set every sail. The harbor bar we soon shall clear. Farewell once more to home so dear. For when the tempest rages loud and long, that home shall be our guiding star and song.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Keel will now make a presentation to this unit's ombudsman, Deanne Goblet.
Deanne, if I could ask you to please come up, we'd appreciate that. The Great Lakes were once the site of dozens of majestic lighthouses that guided ships through narrow straits, around rocky shores and past shallow sandbars. Although modern technology has taken many of these architectural beauties out of use, their grand stone structures still grace America's coasts and harbors. Wisconsin Point has long been home to one of these lighthouses and the families who operated it. The lighthouse beacon communicated safe passage into the harbor, where families and loved ones awaited sailors returning to the Twin Ports. From October 1994 through September 1996, Deanne Gobway graced Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111 as our ombudsman. She guided our families through rocky times and was a critical communication link during our overseas deployments. Mrs. Gobway has been our beacon. Her warmth and kindness will always light our hearts. Deanne, please accept this small gift as our token of appreciation and for all the symbolism it stands for. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker, Commodore Stuart J. Svirk, Commander, Inshore Undersea Warfare Group 1.
Captain Stang, Commander Salmon, Commander Keogh, Commander Select Erickson, men and women of Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111, other invited guests, family and friends of the unit. Great to have you here. Let me break out my giant speech, which is this. Having done these things many times before, this has become second nature. I must admit, flying in through Minneapolis last night presented me with an excruciating dilemma. As a lifelong Minnesota Twins fan, and one who's never been to the Metro before, I get in about 8 o'clock and figured, do Do I want to continue on to this change of command? Or do I want to take a little side journey and go see the last couple innings of the Twins' glorious victory over California last night? Needless to say, I'm here. Maybe next time. It's a great day. We're here to honor one fine young officer and to welcome another one back into the community. The change of command ceremony is a unique event in DoD, Department of Defense, in that the Naval Service has a long tradition of change of command, where we basically have continuity of command that's passed from one officer to the next. Other services don't do it quite the same way, quite the same formal ceremonial fashion as we do. It's very important to recognize the past contributions, to guarantee and to demonstrate in front of the troops and the wardroom that there is continuity, and that continuity will continue, and that the unit will continue to do its job, to be ready to deploy in a certain circumstance in the future. And that's really what we're here to do. We're here to watch and witness and be collective witnesses, that is, of this important evolution, change of command. Before we get to that point, I'd like to digress and talk a little bit about the Naval Reserve in general, and then in more specific about what MIUWU has done over the past several years in Commander Keogh's fine leadership. Everybody knows, that you're reading the paper all the time about how the Defense Department is downsizing, or budget cuts are being passed fair share in theory across a number of different organizations. Budget deficits, we as tax-paying citizens are always concerned about living within our means. We all want our government to begin to do that. DoD is living up to that, probably even more so than some of the other departments, as a matter of fact. What that means is there has been a downsizing of the military in terms of numbers of people. As far as the United States Navy is concerned, the numbers of ships that are commissioned these days are substantially less than there ever has been before. Number of carrier battle groups are decreasing. Number of main capital ships and combatants are all decreasing. We're pretty much down to what I would call a stable force right now. What that means is that in past wars we've had a number of different reservists from a number of different services step up and provide the real manpower and support that's necessary to execute those missions, some of whom are seated out here in the audience, of course, from past wars. What this downsizing means is that units like MIUWU here and other Naval Reserve units are going to be asked to step up to the plate and be gap fillers and to be mobilized and to support a variety of different contingencies and crisis situations around the world, simply because there aren't sufficient active duty forces, regular Navy forces, to fill all those gaps. That's the new world, that's the new paradigm that we're living in. It's a fact of life. I mean, the world is not going to be a completely peaceful place in anybody's lifetime. And we need to be ready. That's what we're here for. And the Navy is in Duluth, which is doing it, is it not? Probably some of you didn't even know that before you came to this ceremony. The Naval Reserve consists of about 115,000 combination full-time support people, about 17,000 or so of them, and the rest of us are what are called selected reservists. And they're scattered through reserve centers out across the United States. There are different kinds of naval reservists. There are those who augment existing U.S. naval commands worldwide to provide personnel and essentially bodies, if you will, during crisis situations, whenever those commands need them for additional manpower. There are lots of those kinds of units out there. And then there are other types of units that are hardware equipped. And those are fairly rare. MIUWU here, of course, is one of those. You can see the 8x8x20 van off to your right over here. Hardware equipment is somewhat of a rarity in the Naval Reserve. This particular community, the inshore undersea warfare community, has bona fide, wholly owned reserve missions to perform and execute. What that means is there aren't any active duty forces which do what we do. There are no active duty MIU units. That's how we call ourselves, refer to ourselves, MIU units. There aren't any active duty MIU units out there. This is the force in being. We're fortunate enough to have 28 of those sprinkled around the United States. And the missions that we perform, some of which I think are hopefully outlined in the... Yes, are they in the... I haven't even looked at the darn change of command thing here, but those, if you have a chance to read through it and blaze through there, you can get an understanding of what it is we do. But our basic primary function in life is coastal surveillance, meaning we set this van out on a pier or along the coast in a strait or a choke point somewhere, and we provide surface and subsurface surveillance, looking for different threats of interest. Unconventional terrorist type boats that might be carrying terrorists into a port area to do some damage, or surface ships that might be carrying people to come across the beach somewhere and do damage, what have you. There are a variety of other types of missions. The way the Marines essentially fight their, or are prepared to fight in their various campaigns, is that we have large maritime prepositioning ships that are located in several places around the world. And these large ships can carry 1.5 million gallons of petroleum and various other combat service support supplies. These ships can go quickly to a contingency area and marry up with personnel who fly in. They can marry up this equipment with the personnel and conduct their business ashore. Well, one of our missions is to actually provide security and safety for those ships as they commence their offload at those foreign destinations. So we fly via Air Force C-5s or C-141s worldwide to conduct operations in the terrain with these other types of forces, Marine forces and naval elements, to test our skills and our ability to protect and defend these very important strategic ship assets, which have all this gear and equipment on board. So there's a variety of different things that we do. Happy to say that over the last couple years we've had upwards of about 27 or 28 different units and operations overseas in all kinds of places around the world. Korea, Thailand, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, out comes to Hawaii and Alaska. Our counterparts on the East Coast go to Norway, and Turkey, and to Italy, and Sardinia, and to Panama, and all kinds of places around the world. Now, it's not just as easy as getting in to an airplane somewhere and flying and showing up on the ground and operating. You can imagine what it would take to deploy a van like this, trucks, which are the prime movers which pull this equipment around, the supply support, logistic support that you need to be able to operate out CONUS outside the continental United States for a couple weeks during a major exercise or operation. You have to bring your entire footprint of logistic support with you, essentially, to be able to operate. You've got to get the gear there. You've got to make arrangements to fly it there in some cases, or you deploy it from that stuff, those pre-positioned assets which are already in theater. It's not an easy thing to have happen. And again, it takes a lot of planning, preparation. It's something that you just can't wait until the last minute and write a bunch of orders and get a bunch of airline tickets and fly away and do something. It takes an incredible amount of preparatory work. And the folks that you see in the ranks around here and up on the dais have all been through that drill, not once but several times. As I said, from our own organization, Inshore Undersea Warfare Group 1, we've, over the last 2 years, have had about 26 different units that have gone out CONUS. Sometimes, or actually, it's been the same 13 or 14 each from year to year here, all those different places. That's the way it's going to be in the future. We're basically part of the numbered fleet commander's equation for doing business. Remember, we are the only force in English which executes some of these missions. And so Commander 5th Fleet in Bahrain, or Commander 7th Fleet on the USS Blue Ridge, afloat in Western Pacific, rely on us to execute and to train with other naval forces and other service forces in a variety of different situations. We're part of the equation. We're not just some Naval Reserve organization which shows up for a couple weeks of training once a year. We actually go and conduct real-world missions. We're part of the operational plans. We're part of the warfighting plans. What does that really mean over the long haul? Again, with DoD downsizing, we're going to have to stand up and execute in certain circumstances. There were 5 units that were recalled and mobilized during Desert Storm. Even a couple of people from 111. Chief Holcomb, wherever he is, served with him, myself, during Desert Storm. Those kind of things are going to happen in the future. You can bank on it. The IEW community, 111 is part of something called the President's Selective Reserve Recall, which means that with the stroke of the President's pen, we could be mobilized and gone within 48 hours. And you probably didn't realize that. These are unique reserve organizations. They're not. We're there because we are an operational force. We've got equipment and capabilities, and we need to be able to execute. Our primary purpose in life is to train ourselves and to be ready to go to make sure that we are able to execute when and if the call comes. Who can predict whether or not something will happen somewhere in the world where we'll be recalled again in a Desert Storm-like situation? Bosnia is going on right now. My counterpart in Group 2 has done contingency planning to send new units there, or if the situation got out of control where we had to bring forces out via ship, places like Dubrovnik or other ports along the coast of former Yugoslavia. We do contingency planning all the time for places like Korea and the Gulf. We've been reading the papers recently about Saddam Hussein and his friends stirring the pot again there. Again, who can predict when and where we might go? This is a force that's ready to go. And you should all be proud that 111 is, as a unit, one of the key units that's ready to go here as well. And that's largely to the leadership of Commander Keough and the support he's gotten from his wardroom and crew. It's very important that we are able to stand up. We can say with truth and certainty when we go out and talk to the number point commanders that we have people that are ready to go, that have been there, done that, that have been trained overseas, have exercised, have done a great job. And what's 111 done specifically? Well, they've only gone out of CONUS the last 2 years to Korea into some fairly significant exercises. One was reception, staging, onward movement, and integration. That's a long phrase. What that means is, on the Korean Peninsula, it's really an army type of a military situation, meaning if Paris thought something would happen there, the main battle would be fought on the ground. And thus, in order to be able to fight a war on the ground, what do you suppose you need? You need beams and bullets and resupply, new equipment for that which gets damaged and so forth. Where does that stuff come from? It all comes via ports. And who's guarding the ports? It's units like MIUWU. So this exercise, this RSONI exercise, which was conducted last year in Busan, Korea, MIUWU deployed and did an outstanding job. Very successful exercise. Built relationships with the host nation folks, the Koreans, which is what we need to do. We get our people get experience overseas, and the Koreans get experience working with us as well. So we can do this if we have to do it for real. This year, Commander Keough spearheaded a fairly significant operation called Valiant Usher, or actually Valiant Usher, in a port of Pohang, which is another one of the key resupply ports that we would have to stand up in a crisis situation over there. And that evolution was not a very well pre-planned evolution because the scenario and the concept for how and what was going to be done was changing up to the last minute. Commander Keough, when he got on the ground, did an awful lot to get his unit plugged in. There were some additional folks from another unit, 104 on the San Jose, that were there. He was able to orchestrate a very successful evolution, a mine countermeasures, a port security, harbor defense operation. Had people from the Republic of Korea Navy, the ROC Navy, right inside his van, co-locating inside that rig in a crowded operational sense. Excellent operation, showing the interoperability and ability to execute the mission. You'll see the pictures when you go inside the van there later for a little look-see. There's a little binder of pictures that were taken in real time. You can see the close working relationships that were obviously fostered by Commander Keough's excellent work. Did some good liaison up with Commander Naval Forces Korea. Very successful operation. Now that's fine in terms of operations, but in addition, what 111 was able to do over the last couple of years is we've had a pre-positioned van, a van just like this in Bahrain, and it's there as a training platform as a pre-deployment asset, so that if we had to do something for real in the Gulf, we would have at least one MIUWU van there that we could send personnel to marry up with and go out and execute our missions. So, as it turns out, 111 has had responsibility for maintaining that equipment, because you just don't stick this in a hangar somewhere and expect it to operate from evolution to evolution. You actually have to send people there to do electronic maintenance, to check out the radios, the radar, and other pieces and parts to make sure it will work. And he's done a great job in terms of cycling out maintenance detachments on a routine basis to keep the gear up and running. That's a lot to do from a place like Minnesota. Bahrain is 11,000 or 12,000 miles away, whatever the air mile distance is. Coordination of time zones, it's quite an evolution. You're to be congratulated for keeping the gear up. You've done your job. And I guess your reward, you might say, is getting one of your own vans here for a while. So that's basically what I want to say about Commander Keogh. He's done a great job. You should all be proud of his performance. You should feel good as a community that you've got a group of sailors here that are able to go out and execute, that can live in an expeditionary world. Believe me, the whites is not our typical uniform. It's camouflage uniforms, whether it's desert camis or whether it's forest camis, camouflage uniforms. That's the normal expeditionary uniform that we all wear, myself included. You should feel really good about what 111's been doing. It's not just the people here in ranks or on the dais or whatnot are standing around that are important. If you don't get support from home, forget it. I serve at my wife's convenience. I'm sure that perhaps some people up here would perhaps say the same thing. Gene, you've done a great job dealing with 4 kids and a husband that's on the road a lot, not only military-wise, but civilian-wise. I know it's a challenge. It's the way it is. I mean, without the support from employers, without the support from family, without support and understanding from the community, people such as yourselves out here in the audience, these folks can't do their jobs. They need to know that you support them, because it makes their jobs much easier. And likewise, you need to convey to your employers and family and friends, significant others, what have you, that you appreciate their support, because that's what makes it all work. Now, Mike, glad to have you come back to the community again. He's a former XO here. Been there, done that before, coming back to us from the Naval Doctrine Command. He's going to take the baton and take 111 to new levels. You got some big shoes to fill. I have every confidence in you that you're going to be able to do it. We've already had some dialogue. We'll continue that. Stand by for email traffic. In addition to our vans here, virtually our whole organization is on internet. That's the only way to do business, since we have people scattered around the world. We have people that are reservists like we up here, selected reserve types anyway, who are on recall for extended periods of time on some of these deployed staffs, and we communicate with them on electronic mail. I'm sure you already have a network set up for MIUWU. All of our unit COs, we all communicate routinely with deployed staffs and amongst ourselves. Stand by for email traffic. Your inbox will be stacking up, no doubt about it. That concludes my remarks. Before we get to the official change of command, I'd like to have Commander Keogh join me up here at the line.
MIUWU 111, Dan Hutt. Dan Hutt.
The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal to Commander Stephen J. Keogh, United States Naval Reserve, for service as set forth in the following citation. For outstanding meritorious service while serving as commanding officer of Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111, Duluth, Minnesota, from 18 September 1994 to 30 September 1996. Commander Keogh's unrelenting pursuit of mission accomplishment and personable leadership style culminated in MIUWU-111's unprecedented achievement in carrying out dual mission tasking. Overcoming a drawdown of personnel, he ensured success of both tactical unit operations without the availability of local equipment and the formidable task of maintaining pre-positioned equipment in the harsh environment of the Persian Gulf. His unique tactical training achievements included the first intergroup radar sonar surveillance center van transfer between newly designated sister units U.S. Army Cold Weather Operations School and the establishment of augmented command operations for anti-submarine warfare prosecution activities. His highly successful annual training operations in the Republic of Korea included hosting a personal briefing for senior officials of the ROK Navy. Commander Keogh's expertise in pre-position equipment brought to the forefront the critical requirements and needed improvements in this truly strategic method of preparation for world events. Commander Keogh's distinctive accomplishments, unrelenting perseverance, and steadfast devotion to duty reflected great credit upon himself and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, eventually we will get the official signed version signed by the Chief of Naval Operations. For the time being, it has been approved. And your award is here. A significant milestone in that. Not done yet. It is also traditional that outgoing COs receive a commissioning pennant to commemorate and something for them to remember their service as commanding officer of one of these units. And this is what it looks like. The little plaque on the bottom says, Commander Stephen J. Keogh, MIUWU from 1 October 1994 to 30 September 1996. Congratulations.
Thank
Put
you,
this
sir.
in a place of honor in your house.
I will.
Remember honor.
Thank you very much.
I want to say one or two more things. I always have a few more things, as many of you know. Please see.
Unit, parade, rest.
I'm not quite done with my remarks, I guess. I always tend to overlook a couple things here. It's not just the people in the wardroom or the people up here in the dais that count. I mean, I can't believe I actually overlooked and didn't say a few words about the unit itself. I mean, Commander Keogh couldn't just do all these things magically. It's the unit and the people that are in the ranks that actually make things happen. He can pontificate, he can preach, he can do all those things, but it's the people in the ranks, it's the junior officers in the wardroom, it's those people that make it happen, okay? And they are to be congratulated for doing a great job. One of the reasons why you do have a band up here is because you're able to demonstrate that you could operate. That's what counts. Performance always gets recognized, and performance, if it's good performance in particular, comes back to serve you well over and over and over again. So the unit is to be congratulated as individuals and collectively for doing an outstanding job as well. So certainly an oversight. And like usual, they'll hear a few groups from me later on as we talk about some things that are specific to the community. Now, that does conclude my remarks. I appreciate you all attending this change of command. We're not done with the ceremony, obviously, yet. There are some more remarks, and the official change of command needs to take place as well. Thank you again.
Thank you, Commodore. Ladies and gentlemen, Commanding Officer, Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111.
Well, I'm less accustomed to speaking than the Commodore, so my remarks are prepared. Commodore, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished community leaders, fellow service colleagues, fellow citizens, Vulcans, we have one here today, veterans, friends old and new, shipmates, and of course my dear family. Few men and women are as fortunate as I. It is more than a blessing to have my wondrous and loving family, and the quality of civilian colleagues at my daily workplace is the highest I can imagine. But then to also have the chance to work with the men and women of MIUWU 111 has set my fortune far above others. My tour as commanding officer was not mine at all. Rather, it was mine to enjoy due to the sacrifices of others in my life. In particular, my thanks goes out to my dear wife Jean, without whose full support and frequent single parenting, I would have been forever distracted away from my duties to this unit. Thanks are also due to my law partner and godfather of my youngest daughter, Annie. That's the one you've been hearing. Retired U.S. Navy Captain Jim Patterson, who has shouldered extra loads to free up time for me for my duties in this venue of national defense. And my deep appreciation and admiration is well known, but worth restating, for my executive officer, Brad Gobway. Raise your hand, Brad. And our unit ombudsman, Deanne Gobway. These are all people who do not expect thanks, but who deserve it more than I. These are the folks who make your armed forces work, and the type of people who have done so, like many other citizens, in their own quiet ways since the founding of this great nation. I owe much to many others of you, as well as to others here only in spirit. I accepted command of Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111 on 17 September 1994 with a relative degree of innocence. As a young midshipman, I never understood what it meant to be a commanding officer, let alone of a commissioned, hardware-equipped naval expeditionary unit. However, at this time in my life, I do understand why command in your United States Navy is something to be sought after and cherished. At Annapolis, there is a great body of lore about a famous and real graduate named Philo McGiffin. He established himself about 100 years ago as the most disobedient and mischievous midshipman to ever graduate from the Naval Academy, a high standard indeed. Interestingly, his daring later served him well in various fleets and navies of the world. I occasionally think of Philo, usually in the form of a memory flash in relation to the creative conduct of one or more of my charming broods seated before me today. But believe it or not, I also thought of Philo McGiffin as I took command of this unit. For my first act was to essentially ignore a pre-existing directive to shut down this extraordinary facility behind me and move this highly skilled force of people beside me back to the Reserve Center in Duluth. We were at that time under a disestablishment directive due to budget problems force-wide. This was born of a misperception that with the apparent demise of a Soviet threat in the early 1990s, there was no further need for 28 mobile inshore undersea warfare units. Ironically, with the reduction in Soviet influence came a non-commensurate resurgence of extreme interests and conflicting local agendas worldwide. There is a long tradition in our Navy by which, on occasion, some license is granted to commanding officers at sea to interpret messages from their seniors appropriate to the local situation. Well, this ancient spit of land at the western terminus of the Great Lakes, which is reputed to be the longest natural sandbar in the world, is virtually surrounded by water, which leads to the sea, and maybe for that reason Commodore Swirk and other senior leaders viewed my decision with some favor, which is perhaps why this change of command didn't occur a month after my last one. In all candor, this was a good decision which the Navy leadership made to keep the MIUW force intact. It had little to do with personalities or tradition, but everything to do with realities. Some of these realities are in the Arabian Gulf, poised against our oil supplies and strategic relationships, while others are in the Northwest Pacific, such as on the Korean Peninsula and elsewhere, all in some way threatening to our national economic well-being. But as some of you know, Iraq, Iran, North Korea, associated terrorists, drug runners, and rogue international leaders are usually not, per se, very significant threats out in the open oceans, areas we refer to as blue water. On the other hand, these same bad actors are very dangerous to regional and world stability, peace, and economic health. These potential adversaries are quite capable as threats to our forces and those of other nations in the zones closest to shore, which we refer to as the brown water zones, as well as along choke points and straits. It is primarily in... That's my girl. Thanks. It is primarily in these littoral zones where the fine Navy men and women standing before you today function most effectively. The MIUW force is probably the closest model of what a National Reserve Force should be doing. Critical worldwide operational missions at extraordinary cost efficiencies. These missions are in direct support of and responsive to the requests of American admirals and generals charged with ensuring our peace, security, and furtherance of national interest in regions around the globe. A brief look at the hotspots and delicate operations that MIUW 111 has been involved with supports this point. A broader analysis of where all the MIUW units, as the Commodore has said, have been operating is an even more powerful message. The tense areas in the Middle East and the Korean Peninsula and the drug interdiction routes of the Americas. These are the representative modern-day battlegrounds where our national interest is being protected. And the protection is coming from men and women who are naval reservists in the operational MIUWU units. Please do everything you can to help and support them. It is not an easy job. As we have heard, it is not enough to merely talk the talk. You must also be able and willing to walk the walk. And MIUW unit members must walk that walk in all weather, terrain, and geography, in a myriad of cultures, languages, and different degrees of logistical support. MIUW members have proven the value of the experience which you see on their sleeves by conducting highly effective combined operations in harsh operating conditions with foreign forces. This cannot be done with a stroke of the pen or in the required number by any other force in the world of which I am aware. You are currently well served. Therefore, I encourage all of you to be aware of and care about the impact of any hint of restructuring on our real warfighting and peacekeeping abilities. Hey, maybe the MIUW forces will be designated as a strategic asset for even greater use. In any event, please join with me now and congratulate again these loyal and talented American Armed Forces personnel. In our Navy, we fondly refer to a ship's enlisted men and women as the deck plates. They must be strong, tested, and they must shine. Such caliber of people stand before you today. Indeed, in this unit, I have said in confidence many times that if we are in a fight, there are 3 people whom I want beside me, and 2 of them are junior petty officers. Let there be no mistake that the strength of your United States Navy is derived from the mettle of the junior ranks, combined with the enlightened leadership of the chiefs and officers. I encourage you to shake their hands today, give them a pat on the back, and continue to wish them words of encouragement and prayer as they carry on their often quiet and sometimes dangerous missions. The chiefs and officers in this unit must be forward-thinking at all times, and I will tell you that they have been and will continue to be, according to Mr. Erickson, very carefully selected. These Navy leaders must ensure that your sons and daughters, moms and dads, and other loved ones are mentally, physically, and technically ready to take on real fights, real threats in the real world. In even just the last 2 years, numerous such actual calls to duty have been answered by MIUW personnel and units. I have leaned heavily on these senior people, and they have always performed well. It is highly likely that their responsibilities will become even more complex as the world dictates. So, what's the real question? When analysts probe for the secret of why the MIUW units have done so well, so often, in so many faraway climes, will the answer be so easily found? Certainly the operational mission accomplishments of the MIUW forces are legion, and all before us have forged the path of hard-won success. But I believe our secret is also that we are drawn from your ranks, the ranks of what the American heartland is made up of. For in this unit, MIUW 111, we have sons and daughters of miners, children of Great Lakes oarsmen, we have descendants of Civil War heroes, and we have teachers. This band of naval folk resounds with the history, intellect, and work ethic of their parents and relatives who are first, second, and third generation immigrants. We have mothers and police officers standing in the ranks. We have Seabees and submariners side by side. We have experience that cannot be bought off the shelf or shuffled in from the coasts. I am looking over you into the faces of my shipmates who are Korean Americans, Native Americans, Swedish and Norwegian Americans, African Americans, and I see truck drivers and project managers, chefs and cooks, volunteers and elected officials. This is why your United States Navy MIUW units can and do go out and get the toughest jobs done right. They are the type of people, the caliber of service member, which you deserve even more of. And there you have it. The secret is told. In our diversity we thrive, and through adversity we drive. We have operational missions and we get them done. We are the men and women of MIUW 111. Shipmates, it has been my finest honor to serve with you. I will now read my orders.
MIUW 111, attend.
From Commander Naval Reserve Readiness Command Region 16 to Commander Stephen J. Keogh, official orders. In accordance with Reference A, when directed by Reporting Senior, detach in September 1996 from Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111, Wisconsin Point, Wisconsin, and report not later than 1 October 1996 as Commanding Officer, Naval Reserve, Naval Forces, Japan, Naval and Marine Corps Reserve Readiness Center, St. Paul, Minnesota. Before I get relieved, I want to thank all of you for being here. I know it was an effort getting up so early, but we're awfully glad you're here. And again, the key here is you taking our message to the rest of the country. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander-Select Mike Erickson.
I will now read my orders. From Commander Naval Reserve Readiness Command Region 16 to Commander-Select Michael F. Erickson. In accordance with Reference A, when directed by Reporting Senior, detach in September 1996 from NR Naval Doctrine Command, Norfolk, Virginia, and report not later than 1 October 1996 as Commanding Officer, Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111, Wisconsin Point.
Unit, parade, rest.
I too am as unaccustomed to public speaking as Commodore's work, so my remarks are prepared. Commodore's work, Commander family and friends. This ceremony today is especially significant for me because it marks the achievement of a goal that I set over 6 years ago in my first active duty period with this unit. Then as a young lieutenant, the appeal of someday commanding a unit like this with real hardware and a real and important mission that you've heard Commodore Commander Keogh speak about was just irresistible. And so, it is an understatement to say that I'm thrilled to be here to take command of this unit. Unfortunately for you all, I'm not too thrilled to be speechless, so you might as well get comfortable. This is only volume 1 here. So really, I'm only going to make a few brief comments directly mostly to the folks over here in the ranks, and unfortunately from up here with the canopy I can't see them, but Bob Coach is a former MA Master at Arms in the unit, so I'm going to count on you to make sure they're listening. Yes, sir. Good to see you. But before I do that, I'm going to take the opportunity to recognize some folks that have had a pretty significant impact on my life and on my naval career. And first and foremost is my beautiful wife of over 16 years, Jody Anderson. You don't hear that often enough, I'm sure. She's always supported my Navy career. As many of you know, not always happily or quietly, but steadfastly nonetheless, she's always been there and enabled me to go off and do the things that I've had to do, all the while skillfully managing her own career and holding things down on the home front. I couldn't do it without you, Joe. Thank you. I also couldn't do it without my wonderful kids, Leah and Luke, up here jabbing each other. The only compliments Kai gets is how you listen. But they are truly wonderful in every way, and I know they're never happy when I leave, but I think they understand. And I know that their enthusiastic welcome home makes it all worthwhile for me. And finally, to my folks down in Florence, throughout my life, their sacrifices, and their nurturing and their wise counsel not only provided me with the wealth of opportunities, but the wherewithal to take advantage of them. Thank you. Wish I could see you guys. I'd like to make just a few comments about what we can expect in the future. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think there are a couple of characteristics that we can count on to define our future pretty much. One is best described by Thomas McNair, who is the Director of Army Strategy and Doctrine at the Rand Institute. In an article entitled Planning Future Defense, he says that the future we face is not different, but uncertain. It's more uncertain in more ways than any we've faced in several decades. And I think absent the Soviet threat, that thing that we focused on for so many years, that we can all agree that uncertainty will be with us for the next couple of years. The other characteristic the Commodore hit on is a continuing tight budget. Again, without that visible threat, the general public just isn't going to support continuing high defense budgets. Now, I know on the surface those things paint a pretty gloomy picture for the future. But for this community and for this unit, I believe there's a brighter side. Because, you see, the uncertainty of the future has caused the Navy to concentrate on developing some critical combat and combat support skills that they can apply to a wide range of contingencies. And guess what? Your mission, our mission, is one of those skills. You've heard the Commodore talk about it, you've heard Commander Keogh talk about it, I've said it, and yeah, you'd expect to hear that from us. We're all part of the same club. But there's other folks out there, our customers, if you will, that have had a few things to say about it too. Rear Admiral Harness, Commander Naval Surface Reserve Force, said he considers the IUW community the Naval Surface Reserve 911 Force. Vice Admiral Red, when he was Commander of 5th Fleet in the Arabian Gulf, he was talking about deploying our equipment to some of the less accessible points in the Gulf, said that he considers the IUW community the eyes and ears of the force. And finally, the Joint Chiefs, and in my last job, I had the opportunity to review a lot of doctrine, and I can tell you, you don't often find Naval Reserve or reserve units specifically called out in publications that the Joint Chiefs sign out. But in their doctrinal pub on joint amphibious operations, they do specifically call out the inshore undersea warfare groups and mobile inshore undersea warfare units as part of the advanced naval force package that may be required to secure the amphibious objective areas. So those are some pretty high expectations, and they're for real expectations. There's nothing uncertain about them at all. And I think when you couple that with the Navy's focus on littoral or coastal warfare, it pretty much guarantees that our mission will continue to be important into the future. Now, over the past couple of years, everything that I've seen, you all have done a wonderful job, superb job, in meeting or exceeding all those expectations under Commander Keogh's superb leadership. And I expect that we'll continue to do that for the next couple of years. But there are several things that we have to do to make sure that we can do that. I'm going to touch on just a couple of them that are important to me. First is we have to make routine things become automatic. When we can make the routine things happen automatically, then they won't be in our way when we're called on to do extraordinary things. We'll have to communicate effectively, not only amongst ourselves, but with all of those that we interact with the group, with the Reserve Center, especially the Reserve Center, because we interface with them every day, and with the Readiness Command, and especially when we're deployed with those who will have tactical and operational control over us, or over who we will exert that control. And we need to use the chain of command. We need to make it work. Now, in that regard, I expect department heads to step back from the day-to-day management of your department and instead provide for them leadership. And there's a distinction there, and we'll talk about that in the days to come. Likewise, I expect all of you at every level in the chain of command to exercise the leadership and the initiative to get your jobs done. Let your department heads know what you need to do your jobs, then they, the XO, and I can go about getting it. But now, because of the tight budgets that you've heard about, we're going to have to be innovative and creative in finding more efficient ways to go about our business. A while ago, the naval leadership saw that the budgets were going down, and they realized that innovation was about the only way we were going to be able to continue to do our jobs. And so they've encouraged us to be innovative. But they also recognize that sometimes well-intentioned innovation and creativity ends up in mistakes. And historically, the Navy rewarded mistakes by ending careers. So this is changing, and that's the bright side of the declining budget. I think General Krulak said it best in the Commandant's guidelines that he issued shortly after he was installed as the Commandant of the Marine Corps. One of his guidelines was, and this is important, if you don't get anything else from what I'm saying today, understand these next few lines here. In areas not involving character, we must continue to remove the last vestiges of a zero defects mentality. We must be allowed to err in peacetime to ensure we do not err in combat. We will not be able to survive if we do otherwise. Well, if it's good enough for General Krulak, it's good enough for me. But I'm going to take it what I think is a logical step forward. Implied in General Krulak's statement is action. And so the bottom line for me, for the next 2 years, is that I would rather defend your actions than explain your inaction. I'm going to say that one more time because it truly is important. I would rather defend your actions than to explain your inaction. But I suspect, and as you've heard with the reputation they've developed over the past couple of years, that all we do is praising their actions, so we have to defend too much. In closing, Commander Keogh's predecessor and my former boss used to refer to this unit as the best MIUW in the United States Navy. I'm pleased to say that under Commander Keogh's and Commander Select Cowboy's leadership, that it's an even better MIUW today. I'm honored to be back among you, and I look forward to the exciting things we will accomplish together.
Will the guests please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the departure of the official party. Side boys, attend hut.
Unit, attend hut.
Operations Specialist Chief Holcomb will now deliver the benediction.
Let us bow our heads. Our Father, who art in heaven, as we close the ceremony today, we ask the Heavenly Father to remember those who have gone on before us and have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. We ask the Heavenly Father to give a special blessing over each of us that has attended today, that we may return home safely, that we will remember what has been said today, that it will be dear to our hearts, and that we will carry on from this day. We ask the Heavenly Father to give a special blessing on the food today, that it will give us strength and nourishment to carry on these things. We ask this humbly in thy name. Amen.
Inshore Undersea Warfare Group 1, departing. Commander, United States Naval Reserve, departing. Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit 111 departing. Retire the side, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our program. Thank you for coming. All guests are cordially invited to join us for refreshments. Unit Commander, take charge and carry out the plan today.
Aye, sir.
Say hi. That's Bob. Yeah, there he is, our one and only. You look pretty sharp, sir.
Kind of fork it. Finish dip is sticking up. It's gonna be kind of rough.
Okay. Thank you.
Hurry up, Luke, or you get a BS. Get you out of sleep. Hurry up, go, go, go. Go, tight. Luke, you have to be on that little bridge to
MIUWU 111.
Nautical clock. And the engraving reads, Commander Stephen J. Keogh, 16 September 94 through 7 September 96, commanding officer, MIUWU 111, from Mu Light to Mu Right. Fair winds, following seas.
That's great.
One more thing to wish you farewell. As a tradition, we'd like to present 3 cheers. So from the crew of MIUWU 111, hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray!
Yeah, I've already said my piece with all of you last month, or most of you. I've said what I said today. But in view of this coming on board the command today, this medal, what you need to understand is, in that van coming here, this was built piece by piece by every one of your contributions. I'm just a little compass, okay? Just a compass. But in terms of the work and getting the medal pulled all together, it was you. So you're all a piece of this. And whenever I put it on, whenever I look at my uniform, I'll think of every one of your contributions. That's what it's all about. You have to keep doing that, and you'll continue to be the success, extraordinary success, and be rewarded for your success time and time again, and I know you will. Thanks very much. It's been an honor.
Yes? No, you're calling yourself yourself up? No. Commander Gaboy. Obviously, I think from the crew as well, we all really appreciate your service in getting us through this, the trying times. And not only internal as well as external driven. You're not a CO yet, so you only get a little clock. But besides this, we need to have a talk afterwards. Oh boy. And the plaque's not quite as big, but and the engraving's not quite as long. But it is as important and as heartfelt from us as to you as it is from us to the CO. It reads, Lieutenant Commander Bradley Gaboy, XO and shipmate, July '93 through September '96. Congratulations, sir. Appreciate your service.
But I'm only, it is only a few words. We've talked about trying times, and we've talked about the challenges that we've had. The one challenge I've never had is appreciating all the efforts and the skills and services that you, my shipmates, have performed for me. I could never ask for someone else to go overseas with, and I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you. No, let's take pictures.
Still being XO. Still being XO.
I don't mean to correct you.
Sure you did.
That overriding food thing.
I like this one. This is like the first order.
You got a little one too.
That's a good answer.
I would like ranks and everything else, but get somewhat of order instead of just a bunch.
Well, just a sec. Let me get everybody in.
Yeah, without any up.
Shoot.
Already dead.
We're out of ammo.
Good old We got some new puzzles for you, buddy.
We got to talk history here.
Do we make history?
Yeah, we got it. Yes.
Make sure you get the name.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get the name.
Well, you got us on tape. Why do you need our names? Operation Battalion Usher in Republic of Korea from 9 July 1996 to 16 July 1996. During the operation, Mobile Inshore Undersea Warfare Unit personnel successfully performed integrated port security and harbor defense with the Republic of Korea and U.S. naval forces. Throughout the operation, groundbreaking inroads were made with Korean counterparts in the area of communications, contact reporting and tracking, harbor surveillance, and mine countermeasures. These combined efforts have prepared the path for future mobile inshore undersea warfare units. Particularly noteworthy was your unique and powerful leadership skills demonstrated when you stepped in to provide guidance as the supply department head during the last 5 days of the exercise. To ensure logistics needs were met, you properly concluded the exercise and took on responsibilities completely new to you with a positive can-do attitude. You clearly earned the honorary title of Port Chop. Yes, sir. Your performance and leadership during the entire period was a key factor to mission success. Your professional ability, innovation, and loyal devotion to duty reflect great credit upon yourself and are in keeping with the highest standard of the United States Navy. Signed, Stuart J. Swart, Captain, U.S. Naval Reserve. You done good, Chief.
Thank you very much, sir.
Post.
Petty Officer Merman, Petty Officer Klopich, and Petty Officer Kellis, front and center.
Chief? Chief Wanko needs a copy of that too before you... Hospital Corpsman First Class John Merman, U.S. Naval Reserve. Signal Second Class Scott Kopich, United States Naval Reserve. And Radio Second Class Lynn Kellis, United States Naval Reserve. All receiving the same certificates, which reads as follows. It's a letter of commendation for professional achievement and the outstanding performance of your duties while serving as hospital corpsman, signalman, and radioman for Mobile Insurance Warfare Unit 111 during Operation Valiant Usher in the Republic of Korea from 9 July 1996 to 16 July 1996. During the operation, Mobile Insurance Warfare Unit personnel successfully performed integrated port security and harbor defense with the Republic of Korea and U.S. Naval Forces. Throughout the operation, groundbreaking inroads were made with Korean counterparts in the area of communications, contact reporting, tracking, harbor surveillance, and 9 countermeasures. These combined efforts have prepared the path for future Mobile Insurance Warfare Units. Particularly noteworthy was your extraordinary work providing medical services and in your case, medical services. In your case, setting up communications. Obviously, in your case, supporting communication across the board with Rocky and counterparts. Professional ability and motivation was a key factor in keeping personnel safe and healthy in arduous field operations. Facilities were clean and sanitized, truly an act above and beyond responsibilities. Let's see. Your personal initiative and cheerful nature while working long hours in inclement weather conditions was inspirational to others and set the standard for others to follow. And your performance and leadership during the entire career was a key factor to the mission success. Professional ability, innovation, loyal devotion to duty reflect great credit upon yourself collectively, and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Navy. Signed, Stuart J. Swart, Captain, U.S. Naval Reserve. Again, a successful operation. Proud of what you did. Congratulations. Folks, do get your official certificates here later.